morning. Respected Dr. Prema Ramachandran, Dr. Ashok Talwai, Sri Balakrishnan, Sri Venkatramanan, and Dr. Neduncherian, Dr. Lakan Singh, Dr. Bhavani, and distinguished participants. A very good morning to all of you, and thank you for being here on a Sunday. Now, what I propose to do is to talk to you about the work we have been doing over the last 18 months or so with the support of the Tata Trust. As Bhavani pointed out, over the last 6 years, we have been working in a focused manner on the concept of leveraging agriculture for nutrition. And we worked in difficult areas of India, in Koraput region and in Vidarbha. And the results we saw in our pilot study, in the models that we were creating, was extremely interesting and important. And as always, MSSRF focuses on creating models, and we need to look for support to the state if we have to take it to scale. And that is exactly what we had done. And so we proposed that we would work across 4 states, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, and Odisha. And the advocacy here on the concept of farming system for nutrition, there were basically 2 aspects to it. One was in terms of creating awareness on what this concept is all about. And this was done to farmers, to policymakers, to other NGO partners, and to Panchayat Raj institutions across the block, district, and state level. The second aspect of this advocacy was to look at the policies that are being pursued in these 4 states and to see how these policies can be strengthened to make them nutrition sensitive. So these were basically the 2 components of the work that we did over the last 18 months, and I'm going to be talking to you about that. And before I get into the work, let me take a couple of minutes to talk to you about the concept itself. So the concept of farming system for nutrition, as coined by Professor Swaminathan, is a food-based approach, and it talks about introducing agricultural remedies for nutritional maladies prevailing in an area. The most important example that one can think of is the successful biofortified variety that has been developed in the world, which is the orange flesh sweet potato, for which the scientists have also been awarded the World Food Prize in 2016. So the orange flesh sweet potato, which is enriched with vitamin A, there is empirical evidence to show that it has successfully addressed the vitamin A deficiency. So that similarly, can we identify remedies from the farming system itself to address our agricultural problem? This is what this concept is all about. As was also pointed out by Bhavani, this is basically integrating a nutritional dimension, integrating nutrition to address food security. Now, when we say food security, as was mentioned previously also, the concept of food security itself has changed, has evolved over the years. Now, in the second post-World War period, when we said food security, it was seen in relation to food availability, food supply, and food production. And over the years, say in 1970s, the dimensions of access to food, food stability, food sustainability, these dimensions were brought in to our understanding of food security. And in the early 90s, the dimension of nutrition was brought into the concept of food security. It was food and nutrition security. Today we no longer, when we say food security, we always, the concept of nutrition is integrated into it. So when the concept of food security has evolved over the years, so should our expectation or the role for agriculture also needs to evolve. So when we say agriculture, what is the role of agriculture? Agriculture can no longer serve only as a source of food. Agriculture has to be a source of food and nutrition. So that is what this concept of farming system of nutrition is all about. Can we reap more nutrition per unit area? That is what this concept is about. And how do we combine different components of the farming system? Say livestock, poultry, horticulture, sericulture. How do we combine all these different components of farming system to address the different nutritional deficiencies that we see today? Now, we do understand that farmers have moved away from integrated farming system essentially because of various constraints that they face. So it is becoming increasingly difficult for farmers to farmers to have livestock. So the farming system for nutrition is not something which is asking farmers to go back and go back to earlier days of having, integrated farming system, because there are constraints to having all the components that farmers have moved away. So an ideal situation would be one where farmers can have various components, but even in a situation where farmers can only have, say, crops, can we grow the crops with nutri-dense or nutri-rich crop? That is where the component of multiple cropping and intercropping and cropping with biofortified crops come in. Because a majority of farmers today in our country are not farmers who are able to integrate it with other components. So if other components they are able to integrate, well and good. If not, if you have only cropping system, can the cropping system be modified or tuned to bring in more nutrition for their household consumption as well as for the market? So that is what this concept is all about. So in a sense, it is a concept which promotes production of diversified production of nutri-rich foods without disturbing, as Shri Venkatramanan pointed out, without disturbing the existing cropping pattern. So it is, so in a way it will be more receptive by the farmers. Next, and in our advocacy where we've been meeting farmers and district level officials and state level officials, there have been several suggestions which have come up of the existing policies, how nutrition can be integrated. I'll come to that in a bit. Now, the second component of our advocacy, as I said, was to look at the policies that have been practiced, policies that are on the ground across the 4 states. And first, not just the policies which are being pursued, but also to look at what is the vision and mission of the state. What does the agenda documents of these 4 states say with respect to nutrition sensitive agriculture? And has the vision got translated into policies? So this is an exercise which we conducted across the 4 states, and I'm not going to be presenting the results of all the 4 states, but what we are going to do is to say that there are some common concerns or similarities which come out of our analysis of Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha and Maharashtra, and that is what I'm going to be talking about. First of all, the biofortified crops. Now, the scientific community has developed biofortified cereals, biofortified millets, tuber crops, which are suitable to be grown across these 4 states. And there is recognition in the Bihar roadmap, agricultural roadmap, that biofortified crops are, about the potential of biofortified crops to alleviate malnutrition. But even in Bihar, there is no plan that has been put forth to make farmers adopt this. So on the one hand, our scientific community have developed these crops, and there have been pilots for Dhanashakti pearl millet and orange flesh sweet potato and zinc-rich rice varieties, but there has been no policy or plan across all these 4 states to take this forward. Now, a part of this plan can also be looking at the efficacy of this crop. So the plan has to have a research component of looking at the efficacy of these crops. So that is something which is extremely important for the states. And also in a meeting that we had at Niti Aayog, it was also pointed out that even across the nation, there is no policy on biofortified crops. So this lack of link between scientific community and the government needs to be addressed, and the potential of biofortified crops to combat micronutrient deficiency needs to be taken on board. Now, the second concern that we found in our analysis across all the 4 states is all 4 states have excellent programs and policies on integrated farming system. But when you look at it from the nutrition perspective, you find these schemes are seen as schemes which are necessary for climate resilience or for risk reduction. The nutrient dimension can be very easily integrated into these schemes. So that is something which needs to be done. And integrated farming system should not be allowed to remain only as a scheme for income generation, risk mitigation, and climate resilience. We need to look at the nutrition dimension. What are the nutrition deficiencies in certain locations, and do we have farming system intervention which can be integrated into this integrated farming system design to address this? That is something which the states have to look at. Thirdly, all the states, the 4 states that we have looked at, have recognized the importance of kitchen garden as a strategy to diversify production and diets. But we certainly have to go a long way, in terms of financial allocation or in terms of input support, essentially support of seed and planting material needed for rural households. So these policies, the schemes that you have, like for instance, Maharashtra has a kitchen garden scheme only for tribal districts, not for all the rural districts. And in other states, it is one scheme under the horticultural department. Everything works well in our country when it is on a mission mode approach. So can we consider looking at promotion of kitchen garden on a mission mode approach? So that is the third concern which comes out. Fourthly, again, all the 4 states have beautiful policies on food processing and value addition and marketing. But these policies are tuned towards some niche crops, crops that have export orientation, and these are tuned towards provision to urban markets. So can we move on? Can we broaden this? Can we broaden this to include, because there is a need to include fruits and vegetable and millets and pulses in our food processing policies. Fifthly, this was again mentioned earlier, Now, the nutrition literacy program, all the states and the central government, we have a nutrition literacy program, but we have a targeted approach. We are looking at pregnant women, adolescent and lactating women, and adolescent girls. Now, knowledge on what to grow and what to consume, is something which farmers need to know and consumers need to know. Farmers are also consumers. So it is very important that we take nutrition literacy, across all age groups. There is a need to have a life cycle approach when we are creating awareness on nutrition. Finally, it's extremely important for us to have a strong agricultural extension services. Now, unless you have an agricultural extension worker who's going to guide the farmer on what he needs to grow to alleviate his problem of nutrition, it is not going to be possible for us to promote the farming system for nutrition. Now, across all these 4 states, the vacancy in the agricultural extension services is of the order of 20 to 30%. So when we do not have, this is, like you have something called the posts that have been sanctioned and the posts that have been filled in. So if you look at the gap, it is quite huge, especially among the section who are dealing directly with the villagers. So if you need to promote agriculture and promote an approach which is novel, a farming system for nutrition approach, it's extremely important that the state emphasizes on strengthening its agricultural extension services. Now, in our analysis, we also found that there are some very unique interventions undertaken by certain states to promote what you can call to promote household food and nutrition security. For instance, the Annapurna model of Andhra Pradesh government, it's a 50-cent model where they produce enough food and various types of food grains and vegetables and fruits enough for the household. So this is also something which can be taken up by the other states. And the millet mission, there are only 2 states who have looked at have a separate mission. One is Odisha and one is Andhra Pradesh. So we will listen to Shri Balakrishnan sir to talk about the millet mission. And the homestead land. Now, having even 5 to 10 cents of homestead land has a positive link to household food security. You have a homestead land. In addition to have a dwelling, you can grow vegetables, you can have livestock, you can have poultry. So there is a very positive direct relationship between entitlement, ownership to homestead and household food and nutrition security. Now, of these 4 states, we found Odisha and Bihar have done extremely important work with respect to homestead. Odisha's Vasuntara scheme has, they have covered a large section of, homesteadless families in that. And Bihar, in fact, has a legislation also on homestead land. Whereas Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra, we could not find any legislation or scheme also to cover this one. That is extremely important when we are talking about food security, household food security. And an important intervention by Bihar is in terms of they have brought out the third agricultural roadmap. So when you have a comprehensive document looking at various aspects of agriculture, it is going to be easy to integrate the nutrition component into it, to integrate nutrition as a goal for agriculture. So that is something which has important lessons for cross-learning. And Maharashtra's Navinya Purna Yojana, encourages livestock farming, and homestead land and millet mission are important interventions by Odisha state for improving household food and nutrition security. Now, coming to the country as a whole. Now, as was pointed out in our Vice President's address, there is increasing recognition. The National Nutrition Strategy talks about convergence with the Agricultural Department. So there is a recognition of the importance of leveraging from other departments for nutrition. But nutrition must be recognized as a goal for agriculture and allied sector in the country. Now, I have spoken about this, promoting nutrition literacy. Now, Professor Swaminathan in his many writings has suggested that using the Nutri-Farm scheme of the Government of India, can we establish genetic gardens across blocks or districts in our country? Now, these genetic gardens will have a diversified variety of crops, which are either naturally fortified, like what he mentioned, Murunga, or biofortified crops. So they will serve two purposes. One is as a tool for education, and second, for supply of planting material and seeds to farmers. So a national grid of genetic gardens is something that we are recommending towards a farming system for nutrition approach. The second component of this is also to promote nutrition literacy at the village level, either through the already existing ICDS workers, that is not just for a targeted group, but across different age group, or community volunteers, as we have been doing across villages, whom we call community hunger fighters. Next, addressing hidden hunger through promotion of backyard nutrition gardens. So some of the concerns that we found in our state level analysis are obviously coming into our recommendations for the country as a whole. And there are already existing schemes available in the policy regime of our nation. So through Atma and National Horticultural Mission, and we also have a women food security groups under Atma. So can one of the, there are, the scope of these women food security groups can be enlarged and the coverage can be increased to address hidden hunger. Secondly, we need to have a roadmap for promotion of biofortified crops. Otherwise, these have been developed and are available with the scientific community, and there are no roadmap available for reaching them to the farmers. Thirdly, overcoming protein hunger through increased production and consumption of protein-rich fruits. Now, as was pointed out earlier, there are schemes available for promotion of pulses, for targeting rice fallow areas, and for promotion of pulse in bund areas. But when it comes to tapping the potential of inland water bodies, we still have a long way to go, and there is a lot of scope in that area. So promotion of inland fishing is something which would also go a long way in addressing protein deficiency, in addressing protein hunger in our nation. Then, as I pointed out with our state level analysis, improving access in the country as a whole, again, when we are talking about value chains, about processing, about marketing, the emphasis is on high value horticultural crops, which have export orientation or tuned towards urban markets. So the non-commercial horticultural crops, the day-to-day vegetables and fruits that we consume at the village level, and millets and pulses, the focus will have to be on that. And there is enough scope to bring it in under NRLM and RKVY and National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture. And fifthly, and most importantly, the nation has to have, think about right to homestead land. There is a very positive and direct relationship between entitlement to homestead land and household food and nutrition security, and we do not have a nationwide entitlement on that. So right to homestead land is something that we strongly bring out as a recommendation of this consultation. And strengthening agricultural extension services. We have looked at the situation across these 4 states, but it is a fact that across the country, agricultural extension services have weakened since early 90s onwards, and there is a clear need to strengthen this, to promote agriculture. Finally, strengthening departmental convergence for enabling joint action plan. Now, when we are talking about farming system for nutrition, bringing in different components of the farming system, of livestock, of poultry, not just agriculture and allied, but also in terms of health, safe drinking water, and nutrition literacy, all of this cannot happen unless we strengthen our departmental convergence. So that is something which is needed, and that is something that we give out as our recommendation. So these are briefly our recommendations, and all these analysis and the advocacy that we have done over the last 18 months across these 4 states couldn't have been possible without the team effort and hard work of my entire team of Anuradha, Gopinath, Shaktivelan, Samyukta Kannan, Sanjeev and Varun, and a big thanks to all of them for this. Thank you.